On the eve of National Signing Day 2023, it is T. Watts and TR on the YouTube and podcast homes for BamaOnline.com. Travis Reier on a fine Tuesday morning in middle December, joined by site publisher Tim Watts. Tim's just a little bit busy. Got a few things in the air, I guess, this morning, Tim, with National Signing Day tomorrow and some other things, I guess.
Yeah, it's that time of year. I don't mind it. We get the same questions. We get the same people thinking it is what it is. I like the uncertainty. I mean, you've known me a long time, and anybody that's knows me knows I don't mind the chaos, the melee, the I move better when I'm moving super fast and not thinking. So this is that time of year, and so much going on. You saw Monday night, a lot of activity, a lot of rumors, a lot of discussions. The fun part about this time of year is a late rumor is always like clickbait, because I'm going to have to get a shirt and send it out on what clickbait actually is. If you're on a message board or the internet, clicks are involved. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, you're not going far on any website without a click. But we're not trying to create any drama, and we don't have to. The drama creates itself.
You've been dropping more nuggets, I guess Andrew Bone too, there on the round table for us than Chick-fil-A in Northport.
Yeah.
It's a lot of nuggets here of late, Tim.
We're open on Sunday though.
That's
we
true.
got the 7 days a week. The funny part about this business is Andrew had one of his friends pass away, and they pay a tribute to him every year. And he's like, "Should I go Sunday or Monday?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'd go Monday. It'll be a lot slower."
Yeah.
And of course, it was not a lot slower. Sunday night was much, much more quiet. But yeah, a lot of things happening. It's fun. I mean, you cover recruiting, you get your good moments, you get your bad moments. Always a good ride. The people that that enjoy the good moments always have the most fun. The people that lament everybody that was leaving, the ones they don't get, it's a little bit rougher for them.
Ja'Shawn Ross, the edge from the Kansas City, Missouri area, the latest commitment for Alabama in this 2024 class. I know you and Andrew had kind of seen this one coming and talked about this. So I guess not a surprising addition to this class, but it looks to be a very much quality addition to it.
Yeah. I think with some of these guys is they're just committing. We knew Alabama did a really good job and had paved the way. And then this last weekend, we reported that he was coming for an unofficial visit, which is huge usually to show up on that last weekend and tip your hand. What we didn't know is when he was going to commit. We felt good about Alabama's chances, but it's a guy I'm really high on, an athletic guy, very physical, kind of bounced around. Was more of an athlete most of his career, it seems like. Spent a lot of time at wide receiver, and this year went to end. And I mean, big physical kid. He's going to get bigger. He's going to get stronger. He's fast and he's physical. He's mean. He's a little bit mean. You see him on film. He's a little bit mean like Dallas Turner is. Like, he will hit you. He's going to get his money's worth when he hits you. Not dirty, but he's a very physical football player, the kind you like to have on your team.
A lot of these guys, all these guys want to play wide receiver, don't they, these days? They want to play wide receiver. They want to play running back. But there's a lot of money to be made if you make that move over to corner or maybe an outside linebacker edge type of position.
Yeah, that's always been, growing, covering this so long, growing with this sport. It's always been nobody was an interior offensive lineman. They're all tackles. 6'2", I'm a tackle. Nobody was ever a safety. They were all a cover corner. I'm a boundary corner, But yeah, they love to score touchdowns. That's why I get pretty excited when I see guys who can score touchdowns. Jalen Mbakwe is the latest one. He can score touchdowns at the collegiate level. He can score touchdowns in the SEC. He wants to play on the defensive side of the ball. And we've seen guys like Landon Collins, Minkah Fitzpatrick. Those guys had offensive highlights, offensive skill sets that they could have played. Landon was a really good running back. He was a powerful, you know how he's built, you know how he ran. He was a big, thick guy that can run hard. But yeah, so I get excited about those kind of guys. And this guy's definitely, some guys are just defensive minded. And I think Ja'Shawn falls in that category.
Yeah, Caleb Downs, most
he's
recently. A lot of those guys, like you said, that have
Brian Branch was a really good offensive player in high school. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They got a knack. Those guys have a knack for the ball.
Kool-Aid. Yeah.
Kool-Aid, yeah, another one played wide receiver, was a really good athlete on the basketball floor. A lot of those guys that end up on defense, they have a knack for the ball. The ball tends to find them, and also that's partly because they're used to looking for it, having been on that other side of the on the offense.
Yeah, you talked about how this sort of growing buzz surrounding this finish for Alabama, to the early period at least, has taken on another level, it feels like, in the last 24 hours. Running back, we talked about that position with you and Andrew yesterday on the recruiting roundup. We also talked about another edge of note, a 5-star that's committed to Ohio State, and Edric Houston, that maybe he becomes a part of this class late. Is that what you're picking up here as we go down the stretch? It seems like more and more pieces starting to come together.
Yeah, I think what you're seeing is, the Alabama's hard work paying off. Now, they're not going to win every battle. They're not. They're going to be guys they finish second on, which is the norm. Um, but they're going to battle. They're going to take their shot, so to speak. I mean, they're going to go in home. They're going to talk to people and recruit them, and that's never been as important as it is now because, second's not the first loser anymore. Second's now the likely first destination in the portal. I mean, so you've got a lot of things happening here to put guys in perspective. I mean, you might miss them now, but heck, you can catch them in January. You can catch them in that portal pretty quick. So continuing to recruit them and doing all that stuff. But, Edric Houston, like you said, is a guy Alabama finished second for early on. Big time defensive end type prospect from Buford, very familiar with the Alabama program, has a lot of teammates there, committed Ohio State over Alabama, popped up this weekend as we reported for an unofficial visit. Still trying to sort through that. Bama's in it, still in that stage of, there's so many layers of this to go through. Like if a kid says on Monday, I'm leaning one way, we're almost like, yeah, sure you are. You know what I mean? We're so skeptical of people being honest. But, sometimes they are being honest, but with how much is the interest there, how important it is. He definitely came in, got some time with Nick Saban, Freddie Roach, T-Rob, and all the guys on the defensive side of the ball. So definitely some interest there. And, yeah, the running back position, I don't know if there's been a better storyline. This thing is went in all kind of directions. You have three guys you weren't really hearing most of the season. Keywan Lacey, who ended up committing to Missouri. Jaden Baugh, who was committed to Arkansas and decommitted. And you had Kevin Riley committed to Miami, but he's from Tuscaloosa. Those guys we haven't heard a lot about them until the final, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. And now they're all on the table. Lacey's already chosen Missouri, so he's off. And of course, we got Daniel Hill, who has I think he has an apartment there. I think he's a neighbor of Nick Saban. Daniel loves some Tuscaloosa, but has never committed. South Carolina's involved. Mississippi State, where his father played, is involved. So just a lot of stuff's happening with the storylines coming down the stretch.
So, what are we paying attention to the most overnight Tuesday and then into Wednesday morning? Did we pretty much outline it right there? What about some guys that Alabama's trying to protect here late? Sounds like they've got that fenced up pretty well. I guess Jameer Grimsley was a guy we talked about with you and Andrew on Monday in that regard. As far as a retention standpoint, Alabama in pretty good shape there.
Yeah, I mean, you had 10, 11 guys show up on campus already for practice, so that eliminates a lot of the early signees. I think there's supposed to be 20, maybe 21. I mean, that number could grow. You still have some guys who haven't quite made it, like Jeremiah Beeman, who's going to come after January. I think Jalen's coming after January, but you got almost 10 double digits there on campus already. So they're already locked in. But I think your first, like you said, Jameer Grimsley, Florida went all in. Alabama did a great job there. T-Rob did a terrific job of recruiting, maintaining that relationship. And he's a heavy thinker. He's a guy that really put some thought into this, really knows what he wants to do, shut it down over the weekend. Our own Joseph Hastings had that story, and that he was locked in. So that was one of the guys you were looking at. I mean, there's other guys people were talking to behind the scenes, but for the most part, I mean, they did. That's what we've always said, too. Protect your own, first of all, and then, go out looking for what you've got. But trying to wrap up this class with an offensive lineman, possibly another defensive lineman. You still got Steve out there who's going to make a commitment. We love Steve.
Steve.
Our
Yep.
Quebec City Canadian defensive end looks like a 33-year-old bodybuilder. he's still out there that they're looking at. They got the running back position, and they got some guys that we just don't know a lot about. Solomon Williams, the rush in. No one knows what Solomon's going to do right now. I think some people believe he's going to Texas A&M, but nobody really knows. And Zay Mincy, a top 100 defensive back who's looking at Alabama, Florida, Miami, FSU. I think all those Florida schools. Just been super quiet with those two, so don't have a lot of like shaking out. But this is the day, as you know, that that leaves fall from the tree, apples fall from the tree, and we're shaking them. We're shaking me and the cronies. We are shaking the hell out of these trees right now. So hopefully we'll have some more dipping out. Hey, Monday night. Last night was supposed to be mind your business, take a break, relax night. And all hell broke loose. Jason committed. We had some nuggets on running back. Jaden Baugh, Kevin Riley. I think Andrew dropped a nugget this morning on Arian Hampton. So last night was supposed to be slow. So, we'll see what Tuesday brings.
Fight to the finish. And one of the questions we had for you guys yesterday was the ceiling for this class in terms of a ranking. And I guess we already saw that change with the commitment of Ross on Monday.
Yeah, I was thinking top 3 the whole time. Andrew thinks number 1's the ceiling, and of course that is the ceiling. Overall, I would agree with him. It's going to be all the again, if the dominoes fall their way, if the dominoes fall the right way, then Alabama certainly has a chance to get to number 1. But also, the factors in this go to who else does Georgia sign? Georgia's number 1, Alabama's number 2, Ohio State's number 3. You got FSU at 4. Texas at 5. That's really strong group of 5 that you could add guys or you could lose guys. I mean, you lose a commitment here, you lose a commitment there. Georgia took a tumble. Not far. They were 1 and they stayed at 1, but that gap closed a decent amount when they lost Dylan Raiola, who flipped his commitment to Nebraska. So it's all about keeping who you got, adding a few more. But I think overall, when you just look at the class, I think the Alabama staff is going to be thrilled if they can just hold serve and finish with what they've got and what they want to finish with and what they expect to. I think they would be thrilled with the top 3 class coming off probably the greatest class ever on history. I mean, on paper in history. I mean, it's definitely in the discussion. You have to go a little deeper to figure it out. There's been some good ones, especially at Alabama, but you kind of think it's more than just on paper when you had 2 true freshmen All-Americans in Caden Proctor and Caleb Downs. So you got to think there's a little bit more there to it. So, but yeah, and then 25 is going to be a tremendous class. So, I'm not sure Nick Saban's demise has not been greatly exaggerated at this stage.
Again?
Yeah. I feel like maybe they're wrong.
Hey, let me ask you, is Edric Houston, though, is he kind of the linchpin in this in terms of Alabama potentially ascending to that top spot? And also, as you weigh it in against or with portal recruiting, because LT Overton is a guy that we've heard mentioned with Alabama and linked with Alabama. And when I look at those 2 guys, obviously Overton a little bit further along, having played at the college level already, but they're similar guys in terms of makeup, right? I know that Houston is listed as an edge, but according to our database, he's 6'3", 6'4", 265, 270, which tells me he might be more of a defensive end at Alabama. And then Overton is that same kind of guy, potentially, when you talk about the Texas A&M transfer. Are they, you see those 2 situations playing into each other here down the stretch potentially?
I don't. I think that, I think the biggest number Alabama's going to be fighting here at some point, if they're not already, is the 85, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to come into play. I mean, who are you going to lose in the portal? I mean, you see in schools like Georgia lose a ton of guys in the portal because they're bringing in a pretty big class. They've already got 27 commitments. They're going to go in the portal and get a few more guys at least. So if you're looking at Georgia bringing in 30 with a full roster, they're going to have to lose some. So Alabama, the more they add, it's like the basic, premise when you do rankings. We always say he didn't fall, somebody jumped above him, and the subscribers, they love that. They love to make fun of it, but it's true. If something goes up, something's got to come down. It's just common sense on that latter theme. So I don't think those 2 affect each other, other than the 85. Where does that fit? And what does that do? I don't think you want. I think those are choices. If you're Alabama, you want to be making too, right? You know
Yeah,
what I
if you
mean?
take Overton, you're getting an experienced guy that
Yeah,
you can plug right in there.
yeah,
And whereas Houston is obviously immensely talented, he's still going to be a first year guy
yeah,
that you're bringing in there at a spot that typically isn't easy to break in early
yeah.
as a true freshman.
These are the choices I think Nick Saban, the Alabama staff, have to make, and they've got someone figure. I'm sure they've got somebody figuring it out exactly. Hey, if we add two more, we got to look. This has got to happen. This has got to happen, and they're probably pretty happy with a pretty full roster right now.
Yeah, Justin Aboigbe actually had the opportunity to come back for his sixth year because he had a COVID year, and then he redshirted last year because he only played in the 4 games. But
Yeah,
looks like he's going to take that Senior Bowl invite
yeah,
and move on to the next level. Although we saw Will Reichard initially take that Senior Bowl invite a year ago, so man,
yeah,
these days it truly is not over until it's over for guys looking to make the move either from high school to Alabama or college or from college or Alabama to the NFL. So you talked about the early enrollees a little bit there, Tim, and we got a couple of all-star games still coming up too that some of these guys are slated to play in between the Under Armour game and the Army game. I think one is January 3rd, one is January 6th. Alabama expected to head to Pasadena around December 27th after a brief Christmas break. So could be interesting to see these early enrollees because they are eligible to travel to the bowl site. And then you got guys going to Orlando and in the Army game too, I guess.
yeah. I mean, it's just to me, it's just amazing to have those options. I mean, you know what I mean? Like you finished high school, that's over, that's behind you, and now your Christmas break time is going to be spent playing, preparing for a college football playoff. I mean, these guys have looked up to a lot of these guys on the field. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are going to be pretty excited to be on the field with the Jalen Milrow, for instance, a Caleb Downs and stuff. Or they're going and getting, treated like a king at an all-star game and having that adventure. So it's definitely better than my senior year. I think they're having a lot more fun and doing a lot of things. It's good to have those opportunities. I think Julian Saban's going to be in bowl practice and in the all-star game. And I know a lot of
Yeah.
people are going to really want to see him, but I just want to know how that adjustment. That's what I want to ask Julian Saban. You went and practiced, threw some passes against whichever team, and then you go out and you're playing in an all-star game. It's got to be quite a contrast in the two things.
Yeah, you got Julian Sayin and Caleb Odom as bowl practice participants slated for the Under Armour game. You've also got well, I guess Jalen Mbakwe. Is he playing in one of
Yeah,
these games?
yeah, he's in a game, but he won't be at practice. I
Yes,
think
he's
he's
also
coming.
in that Under Armour game, but
Yeah,
he's
he's
not on
coming after,
campus yet, right?
and he
Yeah.
also played in the Alabama Mississippi game too. So he'll be in. Ryan Williams, who played in the Alabama, he's not signed in earlier expected to, but he played the Alabama Mississippi game. He'll be there. Plus, he's in the All American game, or whichever game there he's in. They're on the same team, but yeah, a lot happening for these guys. Good stuff, fun stuff compared to what they've went through.
Yeah, we've got some Michigan thoughts that we'll get into a little bit later as we get into the roundtable mailbag. We've
I
got
haven't spent a lot of time on Michigan. I was
yeah.
thinking like,
This past weekend I got into them. I went down a
yeah,
little bit of a Michigan rabbit hole, but
yeah.
initial stages of that evaluation,
Yeah,
right?
I was planning on doing that this weekend. Get to. Don't forget, we're talking. The signing days. Wednesday, a lot of drama. There'll be drama on Thursday, right? And then Friday, you have Darian Reed committing.
Yep.
We're not going to sleep on Nate Oats. One of the top 10 or 12 players in the country, and he's making a huge decision. He's making a huge announcement. Alabama's trying to add a second 5-star in this recruiting class. Have another guy that was a previous 5-star that's still a top 40, 50 type player. So a very busy 3 days are coming up. Exciting 3 days. There'll be goods and maybe some bads, but it'll be a exciting time to be around.
Yeah, we'll see if Reed will join his prolific prep teammate, Aiden Sherrill, in Tuscaloosa.
It would
We'll
be
be
a
all
heck of
over
a
that.
threesome with these three. Feel good where Alabama sits with Reed. Georgia's made it very tough, but with Nas Cunningham, I've heard nothing but good things about him recently, and if you go back and watch his tape, now I don't know what happened in the summer. I'm not on the AAU circuit anymore, but obviously, but he had a little bit of a down year that dropped his stock to the 50 range, 40, 50 range. But I heard he's doing a lot better, so maybe refocused and climbing back up.
That I've been on that AAU circuit with one of our kids, and it was a grind for her and us. I can only imagine. And I know players of that caliber, they're taken care of. It's red carpet treatment. But you do that for 6 or 7 years, like a lot of these kids do it. You
Yeah.
get to that finish line,
Hey,
you're probably about over it, I would think. I
I've
know I
seen
was, and I was only on it for 2 or 3 years.
I've seen many a first round pick flop out of a bus with 13 other kids. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? So
It's
the
not
red
charter
carpet,
jets or
it's kind
anything.
of like maroon carpet. You know what I mean? They're not getting the red. They got a little
It's
Mississippi
blood
State.
red carpet, like the
Yeah, they
Salem
don't.
Church of
They come
Christ
rolling.
has.
I've
Yeah.
seen those vans open and thought I was at the circus. I've seen
Eh,
kids. I've seen 3 teams of kids coming out, but yeah, I'll tell you, travel ball is the same way. We did that with our son, and
Baseball.
it was.
Yeah.
I looked up one year; he played 111 games over 365 days, which was
Got
pretty.
those pop-up
Yeah,
tents.
yeah. We did
Yeah.
mostly local. We did mostly in the South, so that changed it. Just trips to Atlanta, but it's a. I mean, it's all you know how it is. It's a whole weekend.
Bro, I did DC, Baltimore, Chicago, Orlando. Yeah. And she got a scholarship.
Well, that's
But
well.
guess what? We paid for it.
Yeah, you broke
We
even.
still we broke even. I guess I
Well,
can't complain.
Well, baseball in the South is easy because I mean, you can go
Yeah.
regional. There's so many players, but yeah, with travel basketball, we were Fayetteville, Arkansas, Huntington Beach,
Oh yeah.
Miami. You know where I was, Texas. We
Augusta.
lived in Texas, Indianapolis. We lived there. I'm gonna tell you the craziest, the funniest part of AAU for me was always the same thing. We go to Vegas. We'd watch games. I always did my work. I'm a workhorse, you know that. And then I'd go out. I don't sleep much now. I certainly didn't sleep much then. So we hit the strip. And it'd be 2 o'clock, and I'm walking the strip with grown man, and some freaking freshman or sophomore would be like, "Hey, Mr. Tim, hey, rivals." Like, what are you doing?
Playing in that 8 a.m. game
Well,
on court 26.
the first one that I saw, I walked past, and he just nodded his head, was a 13 going on 14, 13 or 14-year-old DeMarcus Cousins.
Vegas
Like,
doesn't
hey,
sleep, man.
he's like, "Hey, Mr. Tim," he nodded his head. I said,
Were
"What?"
you on Fremont?
I said, "What in the heck are you doing now?" It's like 3 a.m.
The strip is a strip, but Fremont's a whole
Well,
different deal.
Boogie, he looked pretty grown at
Boogie
14.
looked 28 probably
Yeah, I
when he
mean,
was
he
13.
wasn't just big. Boogie had like grown man
Yeah.
facial features and hair. He looked like grown man.
Oh man. Hey, speaking of basketball, big one for Nate Oats' team again on Wednesday night. Late night out in Phoenix on Wednesday. You're going to have National Signing Day. We're going to get you through that into the evening hours. And then just when you think you can settle down a little bit, Alabama and Arizona set for Phoenix. That's a 10 Central tip on ESPN. I was out there in 2004 in Phoenix, Tim, when Mark Gottfried coached the Crimson Tide back then to an Elite Eight appearance. I was at that Sweet 16 win.
Kennedy Winston.
Yes.
Speaking of
Ernest
the portal,
Shelton.
hey, speaking of the portal,
Yes.
Kennedy started at Cal. Remember?
Yes, he did. But
Kennedy Winston.
the Crimson Tide returns to Phoenix, going to take on a really talented Arizona team. Interestingly enough, an Arizona team coming off a loss to Purdue. So you've got that sort of similarity working for these two teams in Alabama and Arizona. Also, Jaden Bradley. It's a storyline that's going to be talked about a little bit, I think, on the broadcast Wednesday night now with the Arizona Wildcats. And then you're also Caleb Love. The transfer portal, man. Transfer portal guards, especially in this game with Bradley and Love and Estrada for Alabama and Latrell Wrightsell and the guys that Alabama has added. One of the things I wanted to ask you about this Alabama team, again, another in a lot of ways impressive performance in a loss, unfortunately, from over the weekend against a good Creighton team in Omaha. When you look at this team, though, Tim, for Alabama, again, not playing poorly, but I do wonder and wanted to ask you this: how much room for growth do you see for this team? Is this team kind of what it is?
I like the Alabama basketball team. I enjoy watching them play. I know it's frustrating. They're like 6-4. We were all upset about a Clemson loss, bad loss. I looked up, they're 13th in the country,
Hey, they're
right?
top 15 in the country now or
Yeah, so
so.
not a bad loss after all, just another tough schedule. It's frustrating seeing them play. I don't think they played particularly well in that game. Where did they shoot less than 20% from 3-point?
They crushed it at the rim, though. I mean,
Yeah, oh yeah, they did. But I mean, a couple 3-pointers in
right.
that game, a couple more free throws.
Yeah.
What they 8 of 13 or whatever they were from the free throw line. But I think this is going to pay dividends down the road. I think these tough losses, these tough games against tough opponents, when you get to the SEC, I mean, obviously they got to find a way to win them. They've had some winnable games, just haven't been able to put them over the hump so far. But I think this is a good team. I feel like they're doing a little bit better. They're a little bit more aggressive. They're settling in. They've got a leader in Mark Sears, and they've got Pringle. I think maybe maybe that suspension, maybe John pettied him and maybe got him a little bit more involved. But they stay. The big guys stay in. Wagyu and him stay in foul trouble. But they played some really, really good bigs so far.
Yeah.
I'm looking for the Arizona game. This, to me, is the toughest of the three matchups for Bama. Very close.
Arizona's got some size, too. They got 3 7-footers on that roster.
Yeah, that's where I think the difference is. But, I mean, you knew the stretch was coming. I mean, I didn't know Clemson was going to be a top 10 to 15 team. I didn't know that. So that adds it even more. But I think this will pay dividends down the road, and I don't think it's – you hit your threes, this is going to be a very tough out.
I think the schedule definitely helps them in terms of readiness for the SEC, which is going to be no cakewalk once again. I do think that the committee at some point will look at these games and go, hey, a lot of credit for playing them. Even Clemson, which, as you said, looks a lot better right now. I remember when the Clemson game went on the schedule, there were more than a few Alabama fans upset about lack of a marquee opponent in the SEC ACC challenge. Well, it wasn't a brand like North Carolina, Duke, obviously, but Clemson's a damn good basketball team, as they showed in Tuscaloosa. The problem for Alabama is they're not winning enough of these games. Like you said, you got to mix in a win or two if it's really going to help you with, say, the selection committee.
Yeah, I do think it helps them down the road. But I agree, last year when they got beat pretty handily by Connecticut, a lot of people were freaking out, right? Bad loss. I mean, they didn't know. I mean, you can't go off preseason rankings. I mean, Alabama itself has proven that a dozen times. But every loss, to me, I just watched the opponent and tried. I knew Connecticut was good last year. I said that several times. You could watch Connecticut and tell they were a problem.
They're a problem again this year, man.
I don't care about their ranking. I don't care about any of that. And I feel the same way about Clemson. If Clemson was 7-3 and not ranked, I'd still tell you they're a good team.
Yeah, and we see a comment here from Mr. Gruntle that Arizona is definitely the toughest opponent for Alabama in comparison to Purdue and Creighton. I would agree with that because I think Arizona across the board can give you problems at just about every turn. I think it's going to, like you said earlier, it's not that I don't enjoy watching this Alabama team. If you watch the Creighton game or the Purdue game, I don't know how you weren't entertained by what Alabama was able to do, especially with the efficiency on the offensive end. I mean, just precision-like in some ways. It's just the post, as you talked about, the foul problems for Wagyu. Pringle, that was nice to see against Creighton, that sort of offensive outburst from him. Need more of that. But the foul trouble for those two guys, and especially against a team like Arizona, if it happens again, that is going to be a tough one for the Crimson Tide on Wednesday night. But absolutely fun, entertaining basketball. And a game against Arizona, Tim, that I don't think either one of us will be surprised if once again the winner of this game is somewhere in the 90s. Maybe both are in the 90s tomorrow night.
Yeah, I expect some offense. I expect some push, some threes to get out and all that good stuff. Challenge at the rim. I mean, be athletic around the basket. They're doing all those little things. I mean, you see the small pieces Alabama's missing. I mean, you add Quinterly, you add Charles Bediako, who I think we really expected back at one point to this team, and I think you're definitely looking at a more complete team, especially with that with that closer, that late basket guy, which is what Quinterly was. And hey, Quinterly did that against Clemson to beat them the other night. He's a late basket guy. Not that Sears hasn't really stepped his game up,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of experience there. Betty Yako, a third guy, to protect the rim. That would have changed it. But I enjoyed the team. I like watching them. They've had some struggles. They've had their losses aren't losses that make me just shake my head. You know what I mean?
No.
And their wins, the thing about it is their wins weren't like, ooh, I'm lucky we survived. I felt like they really played well in their wins. So I think this is a good team.
I agree. And Mark Sears' confidence right now, you love to see it. Need to see more from Aaron Estrada in these kind of games like tomorrow night. Same for Grant Nelson. I know there's been some talk about both those guys coming in as transfers, but you got to remember where they came from, where they played previously. They didn't see these type of teams night in and night out. So it's a bit of adjustment even for guys like Nelson and Estrada.
I
And
just,
just
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
I was going to say, I just want to see Ryland keep putting his shot up.
That's been encouraging, though. I think
I want to see.
I've been encouraged by him.
Put your shot up, young man. I wish a little more. He had a little more Sears in him,
Mm-hmm.
in the confident factor, because he looks a little hesitant. But man, he's a nice, smooth, big guy that has some game. I mean, he's a guy that I don't know if there's an insecurity deal there or what. There's not in high school, but I think keep putting those shots up. They're going to fall. You can tell he does the work.
Yeah, Sears, again, it's great to see that sort of confidence from him. I think with him, uh, after last year, what you want to see is him sustain it into February and March, because it felt like in March a year ago, maybe even SEC play a little bit there, he sort of hit the wall. Again, understandable, kind of given where he was coming from and jumping into uh, from a mid major to a Power Five league. So hopefully that sustains as well. Hey Tim, you want to go ahead and get in the mailbag here? By the way, it is Christmas coming up, as we know. Last show for us on T Watts and TR before Christmas. Are you a gift card guy? I was going to ask you this because
No.
The wife and I had dinner last night on a gift card, and I loved it, man. I give me all the gift cards, but you're not a gift card guy.
I'm a cash guy. I'm giving you over $100 gift card. I'm not. I mean, that's probably not the most convenient thing to do.
Cash works too. Yeah.
Yeah. I just see, like, I hand people cash sometimes, especially anything over a 20. You know what I mean? And I've always got the 16-year-old girl at Public that's got a pen that she writes on anything over a 20. I think she writes on the 20s. I don't think she's a counterfeit expert. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah,
if I'm a counterfeiter, I believe I can slide one by her. I mean, she's a sophomore in high school working on her Christmas break. But I'm more of not a gift card guy. I'm more of I'd be more likely to hand you cash.
But you're bottom line, you're not worried about the personal aspect of giving an actual gift versus, say, cash or a gift card. That doesn't bother me at all. I actually appreciate it. And first and foremost, I don't ask or expect any gifts for Christmas. To me, gifts, that stuff is for the kids. I'm very appreciative of that, but I'm all for either. And I don't take it as, boy, that's not very personal that you just give me cash or a gift card.
For me, I don't like people giving me gifts because they don't know me as well as I do.
Right.
And I'm picky, and I definitely can be ungrateful. I might not say it, but I'll be like,
so you're a bad gift recipient? Like, if you get a gift that you're not crazy about, you'll just go like, bro,
I wouldn't.
These aren't cargo shorts. These are regular shorts. I don't think
I could hide it well enough that somebody that knows me like you wouldn't know I didn't like that hoodie you got me. You know what I'm saying? It would be like, oh, bro. And even then, even if I love it, I'm not the guy to go, oh my God.
Yeah.
I've been wanting this hoodie forever. So but I love to give gifts, and I love the research. I love the research of what they want versus what they need versus.
The wife is a big gift giver. She'd rather not do the cash or the gift cards. And every time she'll ask me, what should I get for someone I don't even know?
Yeah,
right?
That's it. Yeah.
I'm like, get them whatever you want. Just make sure the receipt is in the box.
Yeah. I feel like sometimes when I'm asked that, it's like that scene in Bull Durham where they're trying to figure out the wedding present at the mound.
Yeah.
And you got the coaches like, yeah, candlesticks always make a good gift. They're kind of just walking through all of that. But yeah, I like the present, the giving. I like the excitement. We've spoiled the kids because we grew up limited budget and which not fixed income, but hey, nobody's buying me $300 Jordans.
Yeah.
When I was 13, you know what I mean? They were just like, nope, that's a whole car. That's a whole car back then. So we spoil the kids. We get them everything they want. Now, I'll tell you what we've done as they got older is they'll ask for a present, especially like, hey, I need a winter jacket. I want this jacket. It's warm. It's getting cold. Well, we give it to them now and remind them on Christmas because I'm not going to make them go cold for 3 weeks to try to get to December. They're too old for that. I'll make them put them back in the package and open it, but I'm not going to let them not have what they need.
My
so,
stepmom,
I like Christmas.
Yeah, I love Christmas. Our stepmom, she would take us shopping like in early December. We'd go to the mall and she had an allotment of money that she had a budget, and she
Sure.
would take you around the mall and you'd get what you wanted until that budget was exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would pick out literally your Christmas on December the 2nd. And then no, she's wrapping it or putting it by the tree on Christmas Day. So, it was still great. No complaints here.
Right.
Just like that gift card last night. One thing I learned about these gift cards too is that so many of these restaurants now are part of conglomerates, right? Like gift card last night was Bonefish restaurant. Well, I didn't know Bonefish was a part of Carrabba's and Outback and Fleming's and that whole group, So ended up at Bonefish. Not bad. Hadn't been to a Bonefish in a long time. I didn't get the Bang Bang shrimp though. I didn't get the Bang Bang shrimp.
I have not been. I can't remember the last time. We do mostly Longhorn. It's local here in Alabaster.
Is that your favorite chain steakhouse? Is Longhorn at the top for you?
I don't know if I have a favorite. It's the most
Texas Roadhouse.
I tell you what they've got. It's really good. Is their wings. They're actually a good price. They're good wings.
I haven't had those.
They are really good. Me and my second son, we love them. Crisp on the outside, soft on the inside, a little bit more like that. They have a good buffalo sauce that goes with it. They have a lot of good appetizers the kids like. They got some wild, some firecracker shrimp.
Yeah, it's probably like Bang Bang shrimp.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's what it is. They got these the apps are really good. Now, steak, I think my wife cooks a steak just as well as they do. She cooked one yesterday, and it's a little bit easier. It's more, a little bit easier to cook exactly how I want. But
I'll tell you what I like at Longhorn. Longhorn is at the top for me of those, and it's not even about steak. If you like salmon, get the salmon at Longhorn.
Yeah, my wife's had that. I've never had it. I like their lunch special where you get like a salad or soup and half a sandwich. Yeah. Pretty simple. Keep it pretty simple.
Get that salmon. I'm just telling you. Regardless of the Longhorn location.
Well, if somebody gave me a Longhorn gift card, I would try that.
Let's get into the mailbag. We've gone off into the
Travis avoiding that $50 gift card. Well, let's get in the
let's just keep it moving. Tex Tider says he wants this hat. We gotta get these hats.
Dude, I've got multiple requests. I've got to let me tell you all this. Travis doesn't get hats. He gets friggin' lids. He's got this guy doesn't get hats, people. This is like $100 hat. He sent me the link. I was like, good Lord, this is more than the Yankees spinning hat. Connie won't have a Dodger hat nearly this much.
Tim said, hey, man, let's get some of those hats. I said, here you go. Here's a link.
That's like velvet.
Okay, we're good.
That's like a velvet material. This dude's up there.
Yeah, I don't play with the lids, man.
I was looking like a $30 hat with $8 for embroidery. Travis is coming in at $97 with shipping. I said, good Lord.
Well, it's either, spend it on hats or hair plugs, We
do need to probably post. We'll do that when we things settle down. We'll post on the board how to make your own, order your own if you want one.
Yeah, we'll do that.
You can create your. That way you just skip the middleman. We're not trying to make any money off your hats.
Really not. Although
plus the margins are thin. Again, it's $100 hat. The margins.
I should get with Hood, the name of the company. The Hood's the name of the company that makes these hats. We ought to get some type of.
Yeah, we should ask
kickback or discount.
Yeah, there's other publishers that would want that hat. I imagine
we could do a deal. We could do like a trade with them or something. I don't know. We'll see. Hey, the mailbag. We'll start with Juice 5297. who asks, after Jaden Roberts' impact this season, who do you think is the most successful, not as highly rated recruit of the Saban era, and which not as highly rated recruit in this class could have the most impact in the future? So a two-parter there. As far as Saban era lower ranked guys that have made big impacts, where does Jaden Roberts he was a 4-star, right?
Yeah,
As I
I think
recall.
he come from North Shore, big recruit. Low ranked Dallas Warmack was a low ranked guy who was an absolute monster.
You mean Chase or Dallas?
Dallas. Wait, which
Okay.
one? The younger one.
Okay. Dallas transferred to Oregon too.
No, definitely not him.
Chase.
Chase, yeah.
Yeah. Chase
Yeah,
was that
he
dude.
was a 3-star. Yeah, he was a 3-star guy that came in and did really well. And did a really good job. Went top 10 in the NFL. He was kind of one of the trendsetters for interior offensive linemen going high. Now he wasn't, and there was another kid that year from North Carolina. They both went top 10. Now they weren't great in the NFL, but that started a trend where you saw guys going higher in the first round because growing up, those guys were always second and third round picks. All of a sudden, you've got centers. Ryan Kelly went 18th in the draft. You had those interior guys going higher. He's one that jumps to mind as a Saban guy, kind of a underranked. I'm sure there's more.
You know what
I'm
I
trying
do,
to,
Tim? Sometimes I look at it more as the other guy at a position in a class, right? Like
yeah,
Eddie Lacy when he came in
Eddie,
with Trent. Um, you had Mac Jones come in with Tua. That's
yeah,
probably more the way I look at it with some of that. But Chase is Warmack's a tough one to top for me.
yeah. He's just a guy that's like a grader. Came from Georgia, not many offers. He had the big sumo belly. Absolutely dominated. Absolutely nice. He was committed to Bama, but they signed him. A guy I always loved, an overachiever was William Vallejos.
Yeah,
He's a
yeah.
guy that came in. Now he had committed. That was the year of the coaching change, I believe, and Bama had to hold on to him. FSU was pushing pretty hard, but that guy was he was a college guy. I mean, he'd come in and he'd move you, and he could move the crowd, and not very highly ranked. I'm not sure he even had other offers really at the time. I know late some schools tried to get involved, but he was a low key guy. They did really well. As far as guys just in general, my number one's always going to be Javier. That was a Shula signee, but just Alabama in general. Javi was just like an afterthought. Me and Travis were like losing our mind watching his film. He got bumped to 3-star, and everybody, Bama bump, All-American second-round draft pick. But as far as this class goes, that's kind of why I mentioned Javi. I kind of like Red Morgan as a
I was
sleeper.
gonna say, yeah.
He's a dog. People say that about guys, but Red's a dog, a red dog. He will
Always
hit you.
around the football too. Yeah.
Yeah, he'll hit you. And another one is Drake Kirkpatrick. I don't know how to explain Drake Kirkpatrick Jr. I feel like we're sleeping on him too much, even myself, because he doesn't have ideal size. He doesn't have perfect variables. But my goodness, even in the All-Star game this week, this guy finally
Plays.
he is a big play magnet. Special teams, defensive back, hit that late growth spurt, really good signee. Had other schools definitely that were involved with him, like Missouri that wanted him. I think some people kind of thought he would end up, he was like a low key doing a favor to his dad signee. That's not the case at all. He's not a PWO. This guy's a player, but him and Red kind of cut from that same mold in that secondary. Plus, it's Nick Saban's baby in the secondary. You got T-Rob. You know what I mean? So they got some things working for them.
Cassius, I believe that's J83 here in the mailbag. Barring any surprise portal NFL decisions, what's the top 3 biggest positions that Alabama will need to focus on in the coming offseason? Meaning, who needs to step up on the current roster or incoming talent to fill spots? I look at the defense and I think edge, because Dallas Turner, you expect to move on. Chris Braswell certainly also in that discussion. It's a lot of talent there when your pass rush.
That's 4 years of talent leaving if you count Will. You know what I mean? That's 4
Yeah.
years of that position being locked down. So that's a good call.
And I'd also look at corner, potentially there with Terry and
Yeah.
Arnold, Kool-Aid. Malachi is sort of a hybrid,
Absolutely.
a safety star type. I would go to the secondary too on defense, Tim.
Yeah. I think my third one would be right tackle. Hopefully they
Yes.
fill that up with Pritchard coming back, in and out of the portal. Almost like an episode of Quantum Leap was Elijah. He's in and out before we miss you. How are you? Welcome back. But I think right tackle is one we're going to be, because you
Definitely.
got potentially 4 starters returning on the offensive line. You got some young guys down there that want to compete, some nasty guys that are hungry.
Miles
Lock that right.
McVay.
Yeah, if you lock up that right side, you've got a whole offensive line return. You got some tight ends. You got some things you can do with that offense. You got wide receivers and the quarterback. So, you'd have an unproven, probably running back room, but man, it's a talented it's a talented group in that room. I mean, Robert Gillespie's kind of he's got to be doing the moonwalk when he sees some of these guys he's going to have to work with.
I like those young offensive tackles that to go along with Proctor. I think McVay's got potential. Wilkin Formby can play there too. Olasalinen, I guess this year's been more of a guard type, but he has it in his background. And then with Pritchett, hopefully hanging around, should be some quality options there opposite Caden Proctor. Reginald Shav here in the mailbag. What are UA's unique selling points to potential recruits, and how are those points different from what you hear that other programs tout to recruits? I can think of one or two right off the top of my head, Tim. I'm sure you can as well.
It's almost like that. Anything you can do, I can do better. I mean, you show them a wall of the NFL earnings, you show them a wall of the NFL draft picks. And this isn't like they don't have them coming this year. I mean, there's not. You kind of think if you're recruiting against Bama, you want a reprieve. Like, don't have a first-round pick one year and let me say you're on the decline. But, I mean, you got Kool-Aid, you got Dallas, you got Latham, you got a bunch of guys being mentioned those early rounds of the draft. Obviously, selling point competition. I think the biggest anti-Bama recruiting pitch was it's always going to be Nick Saban's retiring. And I've talked to some Ohio State people this week, and the whole thing with Edric Houston was – schools are hitting them with Larry Johnson's going to retire. And they're like, dude, you won't believe it. And I'm like, no, I believe it. I believe with the head guy. It happens nonstop with my head guy here. So, yeah. So, I mean, it's hard to recruit against Bama other than Nick Saban's retiring. What do you say when you go in there and they're in the college football playoffs, should have the leading Heisman, one of the top 2 Heisman contenders coming back, should have 2 to 3 to 4 first-round picks. I mean, it's hard. I think if you're smart, you're just selling your program. If you're smart, you're not negative recruiting Alabama, because, I mean, it's, if a girl's choosing between you and Brad Pitt, you just got to be sweeter than him, because you're not going to go, look at that wart on his face. She don't care. You can't beat him in that regard. So I don't know of a lot of negative recruiting other than it's not. Hey, there's one. It's not fun to be at Alabama. That said a lot. Lane Kiffin's saying that. It's not fun to be at Alabama. There's no water, there's no.
I heard that about the Patriots too when they were a dynasty.
There's no water gun fights. There's no tickle parties. There's no, there's no Cub Scout outings. It's college. Yeah. It's not the Boy Scouts. So
there's no celebrating wins over Mississippi State. Yeah.
Yeah. Tearing down your goalpost.
You don't get a trophy for that.
Yeah.
Lowbro here in the mailbag. With a month to prepare and more time for Tommy Rees to focus on the things that Jalen and this offense do well, what do you expect us to see more of, or maybe for the first time, when we play Michigan? Yeah, that's interesting to consider, Lowbro, because there is a lot of time. Again, I haven't gone maybe as deep on the Michigan defense at this point as I have on the offensive side. If you watched the practice watch along from over the weekend, I really talked a lot about Alabama's defense in relation to the Michigan offense. But in what I have seen and kind of what I expect Michigan to do, I think it's going to be imperative for Jalen not just to do it with his legs, but kind of like what we saw with Georgia. Georgia basically said, we're going to commit 5 guys at least during the first half of that game, to Jalen Milroe and his legs more so than as a passer. So, if you continue to get some more of those 5-guy commitments to Jalen on early downs, I think that's where you got to be able to to work those wide receivers and tight ends in the middle of the field and kind of get them softened up that way so you can maybe then get to what you would like to do with Jalen as a passer. As Tim talked about earlier, we're going to get more into Michigan here in the coming days. But yeah, I mean, it's been very fun to watch Tommy Rees and this offense continue to add and progress. And I guess more so than scheme, right? It's players. And when I think about Alabama players in this game, to go along with the obvious guys, I think guys like Amari Niblack, Kendrick Law, how they're used against this Michigan defense might be pretty telling.
I tell you, one of the things I've enjoyed the most about this season is Jalen's improv. You know what I mean? Jalen doing the shuffle pass against Georgia. I don't know. Was that a shuttle pass? What is that? That pass to Bonds.
Yeah, that was kind of just an improv forward flip, but
Yeah, I mean
that's the kind of stuff that you got to be able to do again.
How about the play against Kentucky where he found Roy Dale on the sideline for a touchdown? What was
Yeah,
the play?
the
They
rail.
had him pinned up. Was that which game was that? Was that LSU? They had 5 guys around him on the left sideline. He dumped it off to Jace for a huge gain.
Yeah, yeah,
Those
and
are
he turned
3
it into
plays that like they're magician type stuff. I think that's the nightmare when you do everything right. When you do everything right and still give up a big play at 30 point 30-yard play. I mean, that's the problem with the Jalen Milroe. Same that Alabama faced with Jaden Daniels.
yeah, no doubt about it. And that's kind of what I'm getting to with Jalen. If they're going to commit that type of numbers to slowing him down, either as a designed runner or on extended plays, he's got to be able to make Michigan pay for that. And some of that doesn't entail throwing the football down the field. You got to be able to get to those underneath routes, maybe your check downs. He seems to have developed that chemistry with Isaiah Bond,
Yeah.
similar to what we saw with Bryce Young and John Mechie, right? When they've needed
Yeah.
it here of late, especially, that's been kind of the duo, Tim.
Well, when you panic, when you're in a quarterback, I don't know if panic's the word, but when you're like looking for your emergency out, right? Your ejection button, that was Mechie. For Bryce, it was huge. He would come back to the ball. He knew where to work to the open space. But you're right, Bond continues to do that. I mean, you saw that on the 4th and 31. He went and found a spot that he could throw it to in boom time. We've seen him get open a few times. Saw him do it against Georgia. I thought Georgia, as far as stopping, I thought Georgia has better athletes than Michigan will on defense.
They
And
do.
I thought Georgia had a really good game plan for Alabama. I think they put them in a battle. I mean, we said going in, we thought Bama matched up well with them, but I felt like Georgia had a good game plan. They had the athletes. So I'm not sure how Michigan can win up what Alabama faced there.
Have a cigar here in the roundtable mailbag. Any chance we keep Terrion Arnold for 2024? Tim, I'd say there's always a chance. He has a decision to make, but boy, if you're going to make the move to the NFL as a third-year guy, Terrion Arnold has had the season to do it with.
Yeah, I think it comes down. I know he's close with his grandfather. I think it is a decision. I mean, it depends on, NFL feedback. We love him. We think he's got a tremendous upside. He might get feedback, come back one more year. You can be a top 10 pick. And we've seen that work out for a lot of Alabama players coming back or college players in general. He might love college and not want to leave college. We talk about Terrion strikes me as someone that really enjoyed the season, right? I mean, the guy, again, we've talked about this other shows. I mean, when your best friend's Miss Terry, you know what I mean? You can wear cargo shorts to practice, right? You know what I mean? You show up with your hat on backwards. You're living pretty good life. So he's obviously enjoying it. He's got the hashtag Lank. Hey, he's extremely close with Jalen Milroe, who will be back. So there's things working for Alabama. But again, I'm a NFL first round pick. I mean, it's hard for me not to say take that money. But again, we're in a different era. We're in the NIL where you're not eating at the mess hall, so to speak. You know what I mean? You're not driving your mom's old car at college. You've got money, coming in, and you've got, your own NIL, plus you got the school aid and all that kind of
Cost
stuff.
of attendance. Yeah.
I think there's a chance. I don't know what kind of chance if you're asking, but I think I don't think it's a foregone conclusion like I would say it is probably with Dallas and JC.
Yeah, I'd say it'll be more of the exception than the rule. obviously, if he comes back, because I think his feedback is going to be what you would want it to be if you were going to make the jump. And again, just the kind of season that he's had, playing a couple different positions, showed you even in the return game against South Florida that he can do that at a pretty high level. So, yeah, that'll be an interesting one, no doubt.
Yeah.
Tide Steel here in the mailbag. He wants to know, Tim, how much sleep do you get this week through the end of the early National Signing Day? Is it like cramming for finals? No sleep until it's over. Not that I would know about cramming for finals. We're with you on that one, Tide Steel. What about the sleep patterns for
You know,
Tim Watts this week?
I sleep messed up anyways. I have since I was a kid. I don't sleep. I'm a night owl. I've had to even old age and multiple children and years of marriage makes it hard for me to sleep at night. You know what I mean? And
Same.
when I
Yeah.
was young, full of energy, I was a mess. I don't know if I ever was awake during first period of any grade. I spent a lot of time in the principal's office early in the morning, but so I don't get a lot of sleep. But my body's kind of adjusted and used to it. A little bit less sleep than normal. But there's a lot of exciting stuff happening. I'm nosy. I go through our whole network. I read every message board. I'm looking for the news story. Something's popping up. Somebody's hitting the portal. So my nosiness keeps me up. Um, I'll stay up late and get up early, but I mean, it's not much longer. I'm good. I like it. I don't mind it. I'm built for this as far as the lighter load of sleep.
They don't build them like they used to. I'm with you on the sleep. If I get 6 hours a night anyway, I'm doing great.
Yeah, every now and then I'll
That's a
crash and
win.
burn. Every now and then I'll crash for a good 9.5 hours sleep. But if I wake up at 8:30, 9 o'clock, I'm often like I missed half the day. There's just a panic in me that I'm so
Yeah.
far behind. You know what I mean? That happened to me in September when I was sick. I woke up like a little bit after 10 o'clock, and I was like, "Holy crap! What day?
Yeah.
Did I miss part of the week?"
My window's 11 at night to 6 in the morning. If it's
Yeah.
going to happen, that's when it needs. I'm up at 6 every
Hey, I
day.
love my family,
That's
but I love I get at night. I like there's nothing really happening at night. As long I'm not
when
saying
the
I'm out.
kids when the kids were little, that's when I got it all done. And you and I would be up
Yeah, we
late
would be.
late
Yeah, we'd
on the
be 10 a.m.
phone.
sleepers because we'd be up till 3 a.m. Yeah, we'd be.
I'd work till 3 in the morning,
Yeah, all the time. And also after you work, you want to settle down. You want to watch a show. You want to watch something.
I can't do it anymore, though. I can't do that 3 a.m. stuff anymore. It's the age or something. My brain is so much better functioning in the AM as the day goes on. It just, you know, I guess I
Yeah.
need to get on that coffee train a little harder. Hey, Capstone 92 here in the mailbag. Will the Tides 2024 regular season schedule be the toughest ever? Now, I'm guessing Capstone 92 is talking just about Alabama. That would be hard to kind of go back. And I'll tell you, even for next season, I talked about this too. Have you seen Florida's schedule for
Yeah,
next season? Open with
that's
Miami, play UCF, play Florida State in state, and
yeah,
then have
that's the toughest ever. Yeah,
Ole
that's
Miss, LSU, Texas, Georgia
no,
next year.
that's probably the toughest ever. I mean, I tell you, Alabama's is one of the oddest because they're going to Wisconsin,
Yeah.
which automatically gets my antlers up. They going to Georgia, South Carolina coming there. It's a different kind of schedule because you're seeing Wisconsin in the regular season, Georgia in the regular season, South Carolina in the regular season, um, Oklahoma in the regular season. I mean, you're seeing teams
On the
you've never,
road. Yeah.
yeah, and you've never seen them at all in the regular season. Like, when's the last time they played Georgia? I mean, it had to be 10
It was
years, close
it
to
was
10 years.
2020. It was a
Was it?
COVID year. I think
Oh,
it
that's
gets
right. Shoot, I forget.
forgotten.
Yes, I forgot.
That was
I was thinking of the Nick Chubb game. That's the last one. I missed one.
yeah.
So, yeah, I think Alabama's is totally alien to me. It is tough, but yeah, Florida, Alabama's built for that schedule. They're a good team, so that's it's a good time to have that team. I wouldn't want to face that schedule at the start of this year. I can tell you that with a first-time quarterback, two first-time coordinators, a first-time left tackle. I wouldn't have wanted to walk into that schedule because you never really had a chance to catch your breath.
Yeah, it's relative to the team you've got too. I mean, if you
Yeah. Oh,
got a
yeah.
good team like
Yeah.
Alabama's gonna have,
Yeah.
that helps. Now, I go back to like Mike Shula's first year. 2003. That team saw Oklahoma and LSU in the regular season. Now, both those games were in Tuscaloosa. Those two teams ended up playing, I think, in the BCS National Championship game that year in New Orleans. And boy, Nick Saban and that LSU team, that that was like a 27-3 LSU win in Tuscaloosa. It felt like it was 107-3 because LSU was so dominant in that game. Alabama actually played OU pretty close at Bryant Denny that season, but again, it goes back to the kind of team you got. Lefty 20. I don't know where this comes from. I guess because of the college football playoff setup. Alabama, of course, in a semifinal in the Los Angeles area with the potential to move on to Houston for the championship game. He wants to know worst city to visit, LA or Houston, Tim Watts?
I spent a lot of time in Houston because I used to have the Kingwood Classic. They used to have some AAU tournaments there. The thing about Houston I didn't like is it was like so spread out. I
Yeah.
couldn't. I mean, it was, it was so spread out. It was just so wide. I didn't find a lot of great food there, easily accessible.
Really?
Well, I didn't have like
Oh,
a,
okay.
I didn't have a phone to like,
Oh,
trip
yeah.
and
Sure.
I wasn't able to Yelp it. You know what I mean?
Or
So
Uber to it or yeah,
yes. So
whatever
we're
you
just
wanna do.
driving around.
Access.
We're
Yeah.
just driving around asking everybody at Circle K where we're going. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
so my experience there wasn't bad. It wasn't good. It was just spread. It was just like it seemed very industrial. Have only been to LA once. I thought it was okay. Seemed super crowded for me. That interstate alone
Yeah.
irritates me. But I bet if you're in the right place with the right people, it's a really fun trip. So I would probably, if I had to choose, go to LA. But I'm not a huge West Coast guy, anyways.
I guess it's what you're looking for in this comparison. I like Southern California. I mean, you go out there, the weather's typically great. I guess one of the last times I went is during the winter and it was terrible. They were getting the floods out there and everything else. But yeah, you go out to Southern California, go to Santa Monica, go to Malibu, rent a car for a day, or while you're out there for the trip, go up and down the coast there.
Yeah, we're gonna do that trip one day. That up to where's the place Clint Eastwood was mayor?
Up to
Carmel,
that's
Carmel
up
by
near
the sea.
Monterey. Yeah,
Yeah, that
that's
area.
Pebble
That
Beach and all that.
the
Yeah,
drive along the
that's
coast
beautiful.
would
That's
be.
up there a ways.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna hit that. We had it planned the year before COVID, and then we ended up going to
We
Europe.
we did it when Alabama went out to play Clemson in San Jose or Santa Clara in
Mhm.
that national championship game. We actually went into LA and drove that whole thing up there, and that was cool.
Yeah,
That's a
it
fun
look it
trip.
look it does look like it's fun. What's
But
that
if we're
road
talk,
called?
what's that?
What's the famous route called?
It's I,
Pacific One or something? I don't know.
yeah, it's I've been up and down it because the kid playing college hoops out there on the West Coast. I mean, from Santa Barbara to San Luis Obispo. That's that stretch through there
Pacific
is
Coast Highway.
gorgeous. Yeah, the PCH.
Yeah,
It's
PCH.
gorgeous up through
That
there.
looks like it would be fun. And we'll end up doing that.
You should.
Um,
Yeah,
not sure with the
absolutely.
kids. And that's
Eh,
what I was saying. Like if you like a poor man's version of that, just go to Maine.
Maine
It's
was
very
great.
similar
You were
because you've
right
got
on that one. Yeah.
it's different, but you've got the woods, you've got the beach, you
Pick your
got
time of year.
bush
Yeah.
yeah, you've got it's a much slower, easier
Yeah.
pace. But
It is. And I would say this though, if you're looking for anticipation and environment around the game itself, I would say Houston. Because I got to think Houston's going to be all about that national championship game. And as you said,
oh
it's kind of
yeah.
spread out, but so is LA. And when
It's a pro state. I
the
mean,
Alabama
it's got
Texas
yeah.
game, I mean, once you got to the immediate area, the Rose Bowl, you picked up on the vibe. But anywhere else outside of that, you could go a mile from the Rose Bowl, and there were people in restaurants who couldn't care one iota about that
Yeah.
game. Whereas
Houston's a
in
sports
Houston, it's
city.
going to be, I got to think it's going to be the deal there,
Definitely
especially
sport.
if Texas is in the game.
Yeah, huge sport. Yeah, but sports in general.
Yeah.
Astros, got football, baseball, basketball. They got it all.
Batman here in the mailbag. Hey guys, always enjoy the show. Thank you, sir
Thank you.
or ma'am. I have been on the board about a year and wondered the backstory of how you two got into reporting on recruiting and being an analyst for BOL. Thanks and Merry Christmas. We
Merry
told this
Christmas.
one, I guess we'll do the abridged edition of this one, Tim. Go ahead.
Yeah, I
You
mean
get us going.
Travis was doing recruiting. I was doing a college scouting service for basketball and football. Shannon Terry hired me. Me and Travis met. It's got to be
20 years.
20. Yeah, it's probably over. We're just around.
2003 is when I started.
Yeah,
So
so we've been just yin and yang ever since. I mean, it was a click pretty on. Same age, same love for sports. We got so much in common with multiple kids, roughly the same age. Travis loves sport.
wives have the same name.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we planned it out very
Heather's.
well, but Travis loves sports, and to me, I have a kindred spirit that anybody that'll watch a random NBA game and random NFL football game. I know a lot of people that root for their team. Hard to talk to them because their team's the best and that. But me and Travis had that love for sports and the crossover and the kids and just
Back in the day, boy,
never. Yeah.
we first hooked up. BOL was something else. I mean, it was fledgling. It was doing well. But man, it's been a lot of fun to watch it sort of transform over the years. And we had
So
a lot
many
on our plate. It was just
so
Tim and
many
me,
layers.
pretty much. Shannon, lucky, obviously, a contributor. But it was great because Shannon kind of just gave it to us and let us run with it.
Yeah, he trusted us. Yeah,
He did.
he's got good instincts. He kind of knew where we were at. I mean, he recruited me pretty hard. I wasn't sure. I'm not a great writer. Still write just to get my point across, which I found out that in this business they love. They didn't need they didn't need me to be eloquent. They just needed me to say who, what, when, where, and can we get him.
And
So
go get it. Yeah.
yeah, it worked out perfect for me. But yeah, obviously riding it out to the end.
Major Wood 482 checking in here in the mailbag. Y'all pump this out early, he says, Tim,
We got you.
because I've got to catch a flight back home for a funeral. Our condolences there on that. So I need some listening material. I'm sick of recruiting talk already with our fans once again jumping off the deep end in December. So TR, give me a reason why I should really be scared of I'm not doubting they are a very good team, but I'm struggling to see how they score over 20 and hold us to under 21. I don't think they have faced a defense like ours on any level, especially the secondary. He doesn't see a headliner in the defensive front seven for Michigan. I'm not trying to downplay Michigan either, Tim, but I'm pretty much with Major Wood, and this is what I've felt, especially in the last few days after spending some time on the Wolverines over the weekend. I'm with him. I think Michigan will need some help to score north of 21, 24 against this Alabama defense. Now, Big Ten championship game, Michigan returns a punt. Michigan gets a short field after a turnover, a takeaway from the Michigan defense. This is a Michigan offense not trending in a very positive direction. And as I've said, I think a lot of it depends on the true health of JJ McCarthy because he's going to have to be Heisman finalist good, in my opinion, for Michigan to score enough to win this game. Maybe he will be. But we talked about this earlier too, Tim, in Vegas. It's not a big number that Michigan is favored by, but it's a number that's pretty much held to this point. Now, I think smart gamblers aren't going to just run out there with the time we still have left before the game and pluck down big bucks either way. So I'll be more interested to see what this line does, in a week from now or week and a half from now. But I'm trying not to take the rat poison too, Tim. I mean, I'm not expecting Alabama to blow out Michigan, but just from what I've seen to this point, I think if Alabama plays clean, kind of plays the way it did against Georgia for sure, this is a game Alabama should win.
Yeah, I think special teams need to be good. All those little things that lead to Alabama's favor. I think the biggest thing Michigan's got working for them is the chip on their shoulder that they can scream, we're an underdog. But like you said, they're not an underdog. You're the favorite. So you're the number one seed. You're the favorite. You're supposed to win this football game. So you can't really sell it as an underdog like we've seen other teams be able to do. I agree. I think Michigan has adjusted their game planning to do what they had to do to win, and they've won every game doing that. But I haven't seen like a consistent. Where I feel like Alabama's has a game plan coming out that's pretty similar to the week before. I think Michigan was it. I don't even know the number. I'm scared. Was it 30 something runs in a row against Penn State?
Yeah.
Am I exaggerating that number?
I think it was a big number. I don't know
It
the
was
exact
big. It was
number, but I
like,
remember hearing something like that,
I
you
mean, I was
know.
watching the game and realized they just ran and ran and ran and ran because they could. So again,
Well,
I
and
think for
and Penn
Bama,
State's offense wasn't going to do
my
anything to
gosh,
put pressure on Michigan offensively because Penn State was so bad, and
I
all of
mean,
these
seriously,
offenses that Michigan has seen, basically redwoods at the quarterback position. None of these guys can move. Did you
yeah,
see
that was.
Iowa's quarterback? He looked like he was
Yeah,
48 years old in the pocket.
unfortunately, I did.
Drew Alar of
I
Penn
watched
State,
on my
nothing dynamic
deathbed.
about that guy. Kyle
On,
McCord of Ohio State, no, none of those guys could move. And that's
yeah.
where Jalen's going to be an entirely different dynamic. Um, and,
Hey, let's be real. I don't care who you've seen. There, he's right there at that top 2 or 3
yeah,
dynamic in the country. So if you've seen some dynamic, he's still at the upper echelon. But if you've seen none,
there's not a Braylon Edwards on that Michigan offense at wide receiver. There's not a Desmond Howard, you know. So JJ McCarthy's got a lot on him. And I know they love their tight end, Colston Loveland, and he's been productive. I've referred to him as the Brock Bowers of the Big Ten, but that's still the Big Ten we're talking about. He's not the Brock Bowers of the SEC.
no,
I
that's a
just,
different,
I
different
just,
rock. Yeah.
I just think for Alabama, there's not the schematic or even personnel challenges that they've seen to this point of the season against, top 10 teams that they faced,
Also, the
right?
tough matchups. How many tough matchups has Michigan had? You
Well,
know,
let's talk about Ole Miss's offense and the pieces it had. And how many points did it score against Alabama? 10. I mean, and I know you can say, well, look at Auburn and the success it had. Yeah, you can, but I don't see Michigan with dynamic edge runners like Jarquez
we're
Hunter.
also not playing that game in Auburn, so
Yeah,
that's
that helps too.
that was a yeah. Let's don't on. I don't. I mean, I think people forget, especially in the South. If you haven't been to Auburn for a home game or seen it, I mean, that crowd's a difference maker. I mean,
I
those are
just I
yeah.
think
That's
Alabama has sort of those X factor players big time in this game. Whether it's Jalen with his legs, whether it's Amari Nyblack as a matchup at tight end, whether it's Kendrick Law, the different things you can do with him. Even if Jace can't go, you can play Roydell and Jam Miller and then incorporate Kendrick into some of that as well. And then defensively, I think if Alabama wants to go with just its base defense, Tim, against that Michigan run game, because its secondary has 3 or 4 guys that I think can match up man to man against Michigan's receivers, if that's what needs to be done. If McCarthy can't run the football, I don't think Michigan's going to get it done just with its backs. I don't see that happening. So
yeah. I think you stop and run and let figure out everything else from there.
let McCarthy maybe throw it to you in that scenario. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch. We got a long way to go between now and then still. And we've done a lot of this. Finally, as we get out of here, Shady Ray in the mailbag, Tim, how many 2024 NFL first rounders do you see for Bama and in what order? What's the pecking order for, say,
I'll
JC
go.
Latham, Dallas Turner, Kool-Aid McKinstry, maybe Terry and Arnold?
I'll go Dallas, JC, Terrian,
And what about
Kool Aid.
Kool-Aid?
Yeah,
Kool-Aid
Kool Aid.
fourth.
I think Kool Aid's going to be interesting to see how he runs. What he does. He didn't have any film this year hardly because they just didn't have anybody that could battle with him. They kept going after Terry, and he just didn't have many pass breakups. But for lack of opportunity, I think Kool-Aid could be the combine guy that goes higher or lower based on that.
I think you hit it. I think what helps Terrian too is positional versatility. I think
Yeah.
Kool-Aid can play inside. If you want to play him at star, you could do that, but you've got it on tape with Terry and Arnold. And I think JC He's a right tackle. I don't think that hurts tackles as much as people think, or as much as it used to, because football these days, they're asking left and right tackles to do a lot of the same things. You've got to be able to take care of business. And Dallas had a big year. I think he's answered any questions anybody might have had of him at a real position of value.
Here's what I
these
think
days.
helps all four. They're going to interview well.
Yeah.
Exceptionally well. And Nick Saban's going to sign off on all four of them, I believe, that he's going to catch praise because those are some of his best players and his leaders. So those are two big feathers, not bullets.
Intangibly.
To have. That's two things signed off on.
Yep. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Hey, that's going to do it, Tim. That's the National Signing Day Eve edition of T Watts and TR. And of course, we'll be rejoining after Christmas. So Merry Christmas, Tim.
Merry Christmas to you and everybody at BOL. I hope y'all have a safe and happy holiday. Watch Christmas movies. I'm watching one a day with my family. Y'all can watch one every 3 days with yours. There's so many good ones. We watched Fred Claus yesterday.
Wow.
Vince Vaughn.
When does Die Hard? When does Die Hard?
That'll come in. We go hard late. We go the same Elf, Christmas Vacation, Christmas Story at the end. But Fred Claus, you got Vince Vaughn as Santa Claus's bad brother.
Wow.
What could you want?
What about Bad Santa with Billy
That's
Bob?
On there. The kids are probably old enough to watch some of that stuff. But yeah, that's a movie.
Raunchy.
That's a movie. All right. We'll see you guys on the round table. Travis, as always, I appreciate it. You do a great job hosting this thing and keeping us together.
We have a lot of fun, man. And as Tim said, Merry Christmas to everyone out there. Keep it locked, though, to BamaOnline.com and our YouTube channel, because you never know. And we're gonna be actually rejoining here with signing day. So Tim and myself, hopefully Andrew Bone, will be putting that together for you. And you got some other recruiting news, potentially football and basketball related,
that we're going to be.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Stay close to us at BamaOnline.com. For Tim Watts, Travis Reier, thanking you once again for joining us. Until next time, so long, everybody.